So we're going to start at 133 pounds. As you see, Dylan Raggon, who recently pulled his red shirt, back here on the mat with an early 2-point takedown.
Yeah, Dylan, you know, it's good to see Dylan back in the lineup. Obviously, Chris Cannon not here today with a Northwestern transfer, but Dylan, a couple times, he qualified for the NCAA tournament and didn't get what he wanted, but looking strong here with 2 takedowns in a blink of an eye.
Another 3-point takedown. So it's 6-1, the early lead for Raggon. And in speaking with Coach Bormet before the duel, asking him, when you pulled the red shirt from Dylan Raggon, what went into that? And Coach said there were a few things. Chris Cannon, of course, was the guy that we wanted to go at 133 with keeping in mind Dylan Raggon would have his red shirt. But Chris Cannon, first 30 seconds and another 3-point takedown. First 30 seconds of the first match ends up getting hurt.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, when you want to compete with the Penn State and Iowa, you got to have a depth chart. You know, you see that at Penn State with Braden Davidson at 125 coming in for an injury for Kurt McHenry. And so I think when you're going to be an elite program, you have to have a depth chart. And I think Michigan is one of those programs that keeps their name in the mix. And obviously, Chris Cannon, you want to see him wrestle. It's a guy that you got from Northwestern, but Dylan is definitely a good guy to have now at 133. And you know, like I said last year, tough ending to his NCAA tournament, but 3 takedowns in a matter of seconds here in the first period, Eric, and he's looking like he's destined to even be on the top of that podium this year.
And on the other side, for the Michigan State Spartans, you have Andy Hampton. As another 3-point takedown goes on the board, so 4-point takedown, or 4 takedowns in the early first period.
Yeah, what makes Dylan so good is his ability to adjust, and he's just so quick to his leg attacks, and he can wrestle upper body too. So, been working a lot in the offseason, obviously on top, and this match might be over, Eric, before we even get out of the first period. But Dylan has done such a good job, I think, this season in adjusting to his offense. And, it's showing on the scoreboard.
16-3. Score currently sits after the first.
Another takedown. I think that will do it, Eric.
5 takedowns.
Well, if you're Sean Bormet, that's what you want to see.
5 takedowns gives Dylan Raggon the 19-4 technical superiority victory over Andy Hampton. Puts the Wolverines early 5-0 lead after the first match.
And on the other side, you have Sergio Lemley, who is one of the promising freshmen on the Michigan team. You obviously saw Bo Montanona last weekend at South Dakota State, and Sergio stepping in at 141 this year, and definitely doesn't look like a freshman the way he's wrestling.
Hampton in early with the shot. Lemley stops it, gets to a front headlock, underhook on that right side. Keys for victory for Lemley here.
Yeah, Sergio, his offense is very, very explosive. I think for him, wrestling from that underhook and being able to score from that underhook at the Vegas tournament kind of doomed him against Jesse Mendez in that quarterfinal. But I think he can wrestle really well from that underhook in the short offense position. So it's not going to be easy against a guy like Jordan. You just said, obviously, U23 World Team member for Greco-Roman. So it's going to be an interesting match to see how the battle goes on the feet in that upper body position. So Sergio's going to have to get to his leg attacks, and obviously Jordan on the opposite side is going to want to kind of keep him tied up in an upper body.
And keep in mind, Michigan is coming off wrestling Maryland. But we should say, in speaking with Coach Bormet yesterday, I had an opportunity to catch up with him at the airport because Michigan's flight they were supposed to take off at noon, got delayed, ended up getting it readjusted, the flight time until 3 o'clock. That got canceled as well. They ended up getting on the 5 o'clock flight, getting home at 7:30. So you have to think, third period is going to be big for these Michigan Wolverines because that time that they had to work out last night, they had to work out this morning to make this weight. Curious, do you see that being an issue?
Yeah, well, the beauty is we're not in Buffalo, so this still happens no matter what. So you don't have to worry about weather canceling the dual meet. But I just think, you know, for a guy like Sergio, the younger guys, it might be tough to adjust. But older guys have done it. I mean, back when I was wrestling, we had a couple of times where we went out to Oregon and it didn't work out, and we came back and wrestled on Sunday. So I think the older guys definitely, you know, wrestling in the NCAA tournament, or the guys that made it in the postseason, I won't have trouble adjusting. But, I mean, Sergio, Lemley, and these younger guys, especially in the lineup, or guys stepping in for an injured Michigan Wolverine, yeah, they might have some tough time in that third period, especially when you got the air in here. You can almost feel the dynamic of the fans. I mean, it's almost 50-50 here if you look around. So it's going to be interesting to see this third period, Eric, and kind of see what happens. And might be a great opportunity for Hampton to steal it.
So when you say experience is key in those situations when you're facing that adversity on flight homes, if there was one team that was going to be able to put that behind them, it's the Michigan Wolverines. Looking up and down the lineup, they are filled with talent, multiple returning All-Americans across the board. But I should mention right now that we will not see, at 174 pounds, fourth-ranked Shane Griffith. You will see DJ Shannon for the Michigan State Spartans taking on Joseph Walker. But that'll come later on as we end the first period scoreless. Lemley defers. Jordan Hampton is going to choose the down position to start period number 2 as he fixes his singlet, gets his hand set in front of the lines, knees behind. Lemley covers. Right side is going to be tight waist, left hand on the elbow, and we're back to action. Yeah. It's like he's just going to let him go there.
Yeah, this match is just going to be a brawl. I mean, as you saw in the first period, I mean, there really was not a lot of crazy offense, just this hand fighting and digging for position. I think this is going to, you know, set the tone for the rest of the match. So, I mean, one takedown might do it, Eric, and we might see a close victory for either guy, and it looks 50-50 to me.
Hands to the face call.
Yeah, I don't love that call. I think the hands of the face rule is a difficult thing to get for a referee, but for a wrestler, I mean, wrestling's not a nice sport. I think you and I both know that, being college wrestlers. So I'm not a big fan of the hands of the face rule. Obviously, they got to call it now, but I mean, in a 0-0 match in the second period, and there's really no aggressor, I think you got to let these guys just scrap it out.
How long until they hit Jordan Hampton for stalling here?
I think that, you know, Jordan's got to do a better job keeping his butt to the center, and obviously you call a lot of freestyle matches, and that's a little more, I'd say, forced on international level than it is in college. Well, there you go. He just was hit for stalling it. Oh, nice duck under there, but great wrestling by Lemley. And Eric, I'm not sure what they're going to get out of this. I mean, if the coaches might even challenge.
Yeah, Hampton has to figure out what he wants to do with that leg. It's going inside or outside?
It might turn 360 on him, and Lemley's got that leg now. Well, as you and I were talking before the duel, the new rule changed, no reaction time. So, I mean, if this were last year, that would have been a clear takedown for Hampton, but now they allow Lemley to wrestle out of that position.
I mean, for both guys here.
Yeah, that's just a tough position.
Stalemate position. As stalemate gets called, we're back to the center. Hampton with a beautiful duck. Ended up Granby rolling out of it. Did Lemley. Back to the center. Hampton still leads 1-0 off that lone escape.
Yeah, if you're Team USA, you love to see that. I mean, you're the Greco coach at Team USA. He's like, just how I taught him, you know? So, I mean, and Sergio is going upper body, but I mean, controversial, obviously. Sergio Lemley able to wrestle out of that. I mean, that's going to be a huge rule this year to adjust to for these guys, because they're so used to not giving up that takedown. Now they're able to wrestle through it. So I think it's a positive change. I think it promotes chain wrestling. And obviously, as we saw there, I mean, the 1-0 lead for Jordan, but I think this match is going to be a lot closer toward the end, Eric.
And Hampton doing a good job riding on top, staying tough, as Lemley looking to come up, blocking off on that left side. Look at that elbow, staying tucked tight. And that's a little freestyle right there, 1 point for the escape.
Well, he said he's been wrestling freestyle since November, or stopped wrestling freestyle or Greco in November, so maybe he's got a little of the lingerance of that, and it helped him a little bit there too.
So we're tied at 1 after both guys get an escape after choosing down to start period number 2 for Jordan Hampton and 3rd for Lemley.
Well, this looks like a Greco match.
And Lemley's not afraid to go
Somebody
upper body.
forgot to tell him that he's the reigning U23 World Team member. Somebody forgot to tell Sergio Lemley before this match. Maybe they didn't do a little bit of scouting, but it's gonna be a takedown, I think, that does it.
And keep in mind, Jordan Hampton has been hit with stalling 1 time.
Yeah, Jordan's got to keep his butt to the center, and I'll jump back to what I was saying earlier before I got cut off by that crazy takedown is you want to be a lot more careful in folk style than freestyle. Obviously, you get a couple passivity warnings, but in folk style, it's the ref's discretion. So if he feels like you're not wrestling, you're avoiding, and like they call negative wrestling, you can get hit with a stall call, and Jordan's really got to be careful here as the crowd can almost get into it too.
30-second mark remaining. And period number 3, we're tied at 1 as Lemley goes double underhooks again for the 2nd time this match.
Well, I mean, as a fan, you'd hate to see the officials decide this match, and doing a very, very good job of just letting these guys wrestle. And ooh, beautiful takedown.
And look at Lemley.
Wow. As the words got stolen out of my mouth, I said, well, this is probably going to go in overtime. And just like that, Sergio Lemley, 4-1.
Beautifully timed inside trip. Picks up another victory for the Michigan Wolverine.
Team Mexico representative at 65 kilograms, Austin Gomez. I mean, he's not wasting any time right now. Eric, as he goes for it right away. Wow. I mean, the speed of lightning with the Greco ability of a guy like Andy Bisek. I mean, that's kind of Austin Gomez when I look at it. You got a guy that's so quick, but he's so lethal upper body.
Austin Gomez, the graduate student, of course, Iowa State, then went to Wisconsin, and now here at the University of Michigan. And in speaking with Coach Bourmet, just said, this is a guy who has high-level expectations for himself. And yes, he is concentrated on winning a national title here for the University of Michigan, but in a few weeks, he has to switch that focus to going down to Acapulco, Mexico for the Pan Am Olympic qualifier and qualifying Mexico for the 2024 Olympic Games.
Well, yeah, and that's no easy feat. I mean, USA obviously did not qualify the weight at the World Championship, so you got, as well as Cuba. So 2 countries that are unanimous for being in the Olympics, and now you got another guy that's coming down from the United States representing his home country in Mexico. So, you know, Austin Gomez, I think if anybody can switch gears, Roman Bravo Young, another one, Penn State national champion wrestling for Mexico. So both of those guys pushing each other to obviously make each other better, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does at the NCAA tournament with keeping that in mind.
Head inside single for Austin Gomez to the left leg of Braden Stauffenberg as he shelves it to his opposite hip. And there goes another 3-point takedown.
The 3-point takedown changed the whole dynamic of wrestling, I think, this year. Rewarding guys that are aggressors, because I think when you get a 3-point takedown now, it encourages you to wrestle a lot more. And you know, you can argue with top wrestling and say the 4-point near fall did the same thing with top wrestling, but I think that 3-point takedown now is rewarding guys a lot more to get that takedown, because now an escape is only, I mean, it's changed, still 1 point, but it changes the lead to 2 points. So.
A lot of people keep asking me, what are my thoughts on the thus far with the 3-point takedown? And I still don't think we have enough research. I think you have to go through a whole season before, right? You don't want to jump the gun and say, I like something before, because there's so many scenarios. As Austin Gomez goes big, 3-point takedown.
And there's a fall. Oh my goodness, Eric took the words out of our mouth. He couldn't even get a banter going. Wow.
Put 6 on the board for Austin Gomez. So the Michigan Wolverines 19-0 after the first 3 matches.
And one of the few guys that have wrestled with Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Khabib, Islam Makhachev.
Yeah. You almost want to think that he might be going to MMA after his career is over, but Chase, you know how Chase is. He never gives anything away. Another Matten brother. You got Zack Matten. There's about 400 of them. Obviously, joke aside, Drew, Cole Matten, and then Adam Matten as well. Out of Delta, Ohio. But the one thing that I know wrestling the mats is just tough as nails. And their noses are busted and bleeding, and they'll come after you all 7 minutes.
And Salade in deep.
I mean, this match is gonna be a dogfight. Zack Matten never gives up anything easy. Oh, and Chase improvises.
And now a possible fall for the Michigan State
This would be
Spartans.
huge for Michigan State, Eric.
And he's close to
Matten's
it.
fighting really hard, and there it is. Wow, Chase Salade.
Put 6 on the board for the Spartans. So they cut the lead to 14-6 after Chase Salade picks up a first period fall. 106 is the time.
That's the Chase Salade you want to see if you're Roger Chandler, you know.
We do have a lot of the Amins behind us.
Yeah, we do. And I'm guilty as charged. I'm one of them. There's a beautiful drag behind there. I was just going to get on him for his offense, and he just basically took the words out of my mouth, that beautiful drag. I think this match is still going to be a very close one. Caleb Fish, a guy that never gives up and wins those close matches, almost sneakily comes back in matches that he's behind. So just because he got taken down out of the whistle does not mean this match is over at any circumstance.
You see Cam Amin with that left leg in deep, figure 4. Keys to getting out of legs.
Yeah, I think keys to get out of legs for Caleb Fish is don't let him in.
Yeah, elbows tight, right?
Yeah, working with Cameron and working with some of the guys at University of Michigan. It's a thing that they definitely, put a lot of emphasis at Michigan, because you got obviously the #1 wrestler here, Keegan O'Toole, monster on top of leg riding. And if you want to win the national title, you're going to have to figure out how to get out of those legs. So Cameron's been focusing on that a lot, but Caleb Fish, obviously, it looked that he got out of that pretty quick, so Roger Chandler might be doing the same thing. I think this is going to be majority of the match right here. Guys are both of them trying to figure each other out. Caleb, phenomenal from the defensive end, and same with Cam Amin. So it's really going to come down to who wants to be the aggressor in this match, Eric. I think Cameron Amin obviously set the tone, but he's got to keep it going, and Caleb's got to kind of get back in this match a little bit, get some shots of his own.
And we were talking earlier about the 3-point takedown. I think this is a prime example of a match where it really impacts, because it's always a 1-point match. So that was with the 2-point takedown. You go 3-point takedown, it now turns it into a 2-point match, which is a little more comfortable.
Oh yeah, definitely comfortable for Cameron. But I think what makes Caleb so good is his ability as a hit cam for stalling. His ability to change speeds and get bonus points. I mean, you saw it at the NCAA tournament against Julian Ramirez last year. A match that he was definitely outmatched. He's high 20 seed, and Julian Ramirez being a 3 or 4 seed, and Caleb able to throw him over and pin him. I think that's what makes him so good and so dangerous, and be able to change speeds and get bonus points.
And he is the leader of this team. No question, right?
Oh, no question. I think him and Chase are definitely the guys they're going to lean on. Caleb, just one of those guys, and I've talked to some of the guys, alumni around the Michigan State Wrestling Association. Just does what he's told. Hard-nosed guy, never quits. Working after practice. And I mean, if you're going to be an All-American and national champion, that's what it's going to take. And they're really leaning on Caleb Fish this season to get on the podium.
And Fish really making that round of 12 last year was the biggest thing for him. Was showing that he has the ability to compete with the biggest guys, right? You never know you could do it until you're actually there and you see it to achieve it.
Yeah, if you're go ahead.
That's exactly what he did last year. This is where they were, where Cam Amin was against Maryland. Not where you want to be.
Yeah, well, they've wrestled in this arena before at the Big Ten Championships. As I said earlier, they've wrestled multiple times, triple overtime, controversial calls, you name it. It's one of those rivalries that has been really centered towards Amin, but I think Caleb Fish definitely has the capability of stealing one. But for Caleb and definitely for Cameron, it's going to be a very close match.
And this is the 5th meeting between these two. Amin has won all 5 meetings, or all 4 meetings coming into tonight.
Yeah, and the beauty about the rivalry is that every match is close. It's not like, you know, it might be lopsided on the victory end, but if you go back and watch the matches, as I said earlier, it's controversial endings, sometimes, you know, crazy endings in overtime. And Caleb's not a guy that gives up a lot of points. So, I mean, maybe a few times I think it's gotten away from Caliendo. Is one of those matches where you'd like to see him wrestle it again. But I think, and he'll see him again this year, obviously, in the Big Ten. Caliendo coming over from North Dakota and now Iowa. But it's always a deadlock. It's close, 3-1, 4-1, and a takedown will put it in overtime.
Fish starting to pick up the period as it nears 1 minute remaining in period number 2. Amin takedown early in the first and an escape in the second. Fish on the other end, an escape in period number 1 gives us our 4-1 score. 45 ticks left, period number 2.
And the crazy thing is, Eric, is the Big Ten is just so stacked at 165. Other than obviously Keegan O'Toole and David Carr. Are 2 names that come to mind, but I mean, you look at the Big Ten. You got Caliendo, you got Amin, you got, you know, Caleb Fish. You could go down. You can go on and on. Bubba Wilson. It's just it's a weight class. It's just so grueling in the Big Ten. That's why they take 10, 11 guys at 65. So it's going to be a great year to watch 165 pounds again in the Big Ten, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss calling it. I'm going to miss watching it. But it's definitely something you appreciate in the wrestling world, having a Big Ten weight class like 165.
That'll do it for period number 2. Choice will go to red. Scratch that, choice goes green. Fish is going to elect down to start period number 3, down by 3 points.
I'll say that's one of the more underappreciated skills that Caleb Fish has. I rarely ever see him get held down.
No,
he's so quick to his feet. And he has a really good offense. He's just, I think just wrestling Cameron, watching them wrestle, he's very hesitant to get to it. You go watch him wrestle other matches, he gets to his underhooks and he gets to his singles, but he knows against Cameron Amin, if he makes a mistake, we saw in the first period, it could end bad in a counterattack.
And I think what I like about Fish is he's a guy his foundation is solid, right? You're not going to get fresh five flashy from Caleb Fish.
Oh no.
But it's going to be hard-nosed wrestling, and it's what's going to work at an elementary, middle school, high school, college, 100%. And elite level.
Oh yes.
It translates. No matter where you go, Caleb Fish's style of wrestling will translate. And as I say, he's not a big move guy. He goes double under.
He goes double under. It's like they're listening to. It's like they have an earpiece and they're listening to us in the broadcast. But I'll tell you one thing. If Mike Caliendo wasn't at Iowa, I would be licking their chops to get this guy in the transfer portal. I mean, that's what he emulates. Hard, hard wrestling, not pretty, but he's going to get the job done.
And I'm just watching the lock underneath of Caleb Fish. He was millimeters away from really committing.
Well, he's going to have to do it. I mean, whether you lose by 5 points, 6 points, I mean, obviously you want the team score, to be close. But I think for Caleb Fish and Cam Amin, it's going to be. This is how it is every time, Eric. One takedown. And Cam's got to be careful because he got warned for stalling earlier in the match.
20 seconds left, period number 3. Cam Amin still up by 2. We go out of bounds. Continuous action. 12.9 is what shows on our clock.
Yeah, I mean, he can give up a stall call. Obviously you don't want to see it, but he can give up that stall call. And as long as he doesn't get hit for fleeing the mat. Oh, and right at the end, Caleb Fish. Wow.
Fish steals it with a takedown with 2 seconds left.
Wow. I mean, like a flash of lightning right at the end.
And we were told prior.
Oh my goodness! It's like, speak of WrestleMania, where is this coming from?
And we were told before the duel that the NCAA champion Shane Griffith himself transfer from Stanford will be out. But after seeing what happened through the first 5 matches, I'm sure the coaching staff said, hey, we got to get you going. And he did warm up. I should say that. He was sweating during the walkout, taking on DJ Shannon for the Michigan State Spartans, the transfer from Illinois.
Yeah, I almost want to say they call it Wrestle and Roll. It looks like WrestleMania. It's like, who's number 30? It's like the Royal Rumble, and here comes Shane Griffith. So if you're a Michigan fan, you're licking your chops, and you're excited to see him in the lineup.
Just as shocked as you were. Shane Griffith, of course, put Stanford on his back and individually saved that program. When you saw what he was able to do with that blacked out singlet live on the worldwide leader of sports on the biggest stage that wrestling has to offer on Saturday night. I mean, they'll be talking about this years from now, what he was able to do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if you wrestle for Michigan, Ohio State, obviously. I can't remember. Jake Wetzel probably has a little bit of difference of opinion on that one. But, I mean, for the sport of wrestling, I think that was massive. And to have Shane at Michigan and to watch him evolve, obviously here and be a part of the culture so quickly is exciting as a Michigan man myself. So I think if you're a wrestling fan, you got to get behind Shane Griffith. I mean, what he did in that black singlet, like you said, was awesome for the program.
Working on a 2-on-1 to DJ Shannon's left side as Shannon posts off the head. Merkle position here. DJ Shannon backs out, kicks that left leg free. We're still tied at 0 after the opening 90 seconds of the first period. And in speaking with the coaching staff for the Michigan State Spartans.
Woo! Where did that come from?
Wow.
This match is full of surprises. and you're the Michigan State coaching staff. You're excited to get a guy like Shannon. You know, a big win in the transfer portal, obviously coming from Illinois. So I think this match is also going to be, and Shane is one to wrestle close matches, but definitely no easy feat.
No, not at all. And what the Michigan State coaching staff said they wanted to see from DJ Shannon was attitude and effort, right? You're wrestling an NCAA champion. You don't have to wrestle him. You get to wrestle him. Look at this as an opportunity rather than having to go out there and take on the top guy.
Yeah, watching DJ, he's got it in him. You know, you obviously saw that cartwheel. He's got the ability. It's just, you know, being able to act on it. And the sad thing is that cartwheels don't score you points. Yeah. If they did, he'd be a national champion. But all jokes aside, he's got the capability. You saw in that Merkle position, the athleticism, not to be able to give that up. And you'd like to see him get to shots of his own in some of his upper body. But Shane Griffith also so hard to wrestle. It's so elusive, able to get out of any position. He's like, almost reminds me of Kellen Russell. But this match is going to be almost like a chess match and see who's going to commit and who's going to score.
Taking a look at Shane Griffith, the graduate student from Bergen Catholic High School in Westwood, New Jersey. I mentioned the 2021 NCAA champion, 3-time NCAA All-American, 2-time finalist at 165 pounds, and also, of course, the 2020 year where he was the NWCA first-team All-American, was named the outstanding wrestler at the NCAA championships in 2001, and a Hodge Trophy finalist in 2020. That is Shane Griffith, who's down to start period number 2. Caution for DJ Shannon. It looked like, I didn't catch it, but they're pointing to the right side.
That might be a mistake on the ref. I think Shannon didn't really know if he was telling him to get set or whatever. So obviously a caution, but I don't think that's going to make a difference. But if you're gonna mention Bergen Catholic, you can't forget about Nick Suriano, obviously right? 2022 national championship for the Wolverines.
Beautiful swing single, looking for the three-point takedown. And that's the difference between good wrestlers and great wrestlers. Yeah. He took that shot with the intention of finishing
so
it.
Lethargic and I think he's almost so calm in a point in these matches. He's almost like a samurai where he's just, he gets that, he doesn't rush it. He just kind of takes his time. He knows he's going to score. And it's so hard to wrestle against because you almost feel like the position creeping up on you and there's really nothing you can do. And Shannon did a good job. And you looked at split defense, kind of waiting out that position. But Shane Griffith is just so good from there.
Increases his lead to 4-0. Michigan has the advantage on takedowns 11-2. 5 for Dylan Raggon, 1 for Sergio Lemley, 3 for Austin Gomez, 1 for Cam Amin, and 1 for Shane Griffith. And on the other side for the Michigan State Spartans, as DJ Shannon gets hit for stalling, Cam giving up that takedown to Caleb Fish, and then Chase Salade picking up 1 at 157.
Oh, nice roll. It's you can see it in his wrestling. It's just like he's so calm and just kind of lets the match play out himself. And I think that speaks to him as a veteran. You know, maybe a freshman might panic from there. And you kind of saw it a little with Sergio and some of the younger guys in the Michigan lineup, but Shane is just so calm, cool, and collect. And I think as an international wrestler, I don't think he plans on wrestling internationally. I mean, that's what it takes. You watch some of these guys like David Taylor, Kyle Dake, you know, Sidakov, they're just so calm in those big moments, and Shane definitely has what it takes to wrestle at the next level and get far this year as well.
As he finishes the period on top, 4-0 the advantage. Now you got to figure out for the Michigan State coaching staff, where are you going here? I wouldn't go down.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I think DJ, oh, well, he does go down. Well, I mean, I think that's his only chance of, winning, because if he gets an escape and he takes him down and takes out that right time, you got 4-4 going in overtime. I think that's where their mind is at. But the difficulty is getting away from Shane Griffith. There's no easy feat.
Riding time currently sitting at 133 and climbing in favor of the Wolverine. And that's what you can't do, right? Get your hips down, head down, hips down. Not a lot is going to come from that position for DJ Shannon. Yeah, I mean,
if you're DJ Shannon here, obviously you want to think about yourself and, you know, try to win the match. But you also got to be careful. You don't want to do anything stupid, because this team scores 14-9. So you got a big pin from Salade, you got a win from Caleb Fish. And I think, you know, in his mind, you know, he wants to win this match, but I think he's also got the team in mind too, and might be in almost damage control mode right now.
Yeah, he has to work here. They're going to hit him soon again. Shane Griffith working. Looks like he has somewhat of the beginnings of a power half on DJ Shannon's right side. Double boots in, left boot in. Right is still kicking on that outside hip. Shane Griffith looks at the clock, and this is where he has to know he needs another one.
He knows he needs a few takedowns here. We don't usually see that out of Shane. But, yeah, and they're going to call that hands to the face. I think that was more of a smack. Saying kind of like, hey, why'd you push me?
And this is where the attitude and effort that Michigan State wanted to see from DJ Shannon comes in.
And he's got it. I think he's got it in him, and I think he realizes at this point it's probably out of reach, and it's damage control, like I was saying earlier. But DJ has done a good job, at least thus far, on not giving up easy takedowns. And look at this, is the flexibility that he has. Oh, and Griffith, nice takedown.
Another takedown for Shane Griffith. It's the second of the match as he increases his lead to 8-1, 9-1 with riding time. As that clock sits at 2:53. Add another 4 points to the board for the Michigan Wolverines, and that increases their lead to 18-9, heading into 184 pounds.
Shane Griffith, I think we're used to seeing. If I took him a couple times, you know, after that DeVos match out in South Dakota, I think he started to build on his confidence a little bit and looked phenomenal, I think, like his old self. And if you're Sean Bormet and the coaching staff, excited to see Shane finally find his groove.
Coming up next at 184 pounds, I'm going to say this will be the match of the duel, as number 15, Jaden Bullock, for the University of Michigan, will wrestle number 23, Lane Molcheski, for the Michigan State Spartans. I'd
say no lack of swagger for Jaden Bullock. another guy that is just so calm and collected, and you have almost the opposite of just chaos with Lane Malcheski, just so great at forcing, scramble positions and scoring points where you least expect it. So this one's going to be almost like fire and oil, and you're going to see a lot of fireworks in this match.
And coming in for Jaden Bullock, the biggest thing for him is really having confidence in that right knee. He's had multiple season-ending surgeries, and the thing that Coach Bourmet said as he gets to an underhook throw by to the right leg, Coach Bourmet said, you're starting to see what we knew Jaden Bullock was capable of without those injuries. This is the guy we recruited.
Yeah, well, I mean, Jaden, I think, took a tough loss. Another one at South Dakota, had a beautiful Vegas tournament, a lot of ranked wins, and I think one of the more surprising one over Dylan Fishback of NC State, but crazy scramble position. As I said, this is what Lane loves to do, force chaos. And I think it's a similar story on both ends. I think Lane had a couple injuries, at the NCAA tournament, came in, really high on his high horse at a good Big Ten tournament, and kind of flat in Tulsa. So both guys looking to finish this year and kind of prove something that they weren't able to do last year. Jaden kind of, I think, similar story as well at 84. So.
And Lane Malcheski 2-0 against Jaden Bullock, we should mention, as Malcheski comes into this duel with 95 career victories, so 5 shy of reaching that goal of 100 career wins in a green and white singlet, as Bullock with a no-knee touch, high-level single.
That's where you got to be careful when you're Lane. I think he can get away with it, against a couple guys that know how to wrestle and roll around on the mat, but you got to be careful. A guy, Jaden, can change speeds really quickly and kind of wrestles a little bit behind with his hips back. So I think for an adjustment for him later in this match, he's got to be careful doing those roll tools, because I think Bullock sees him coming.
Yeah, and talk about the advantages that you get. Wrestling, you mentioned the style of Lane Malcheski is extremely unconventional, and you can't really train for it. But you get your hands on him one time. How do you approach the match differently the second and third time you wrestle a guy like this, knowing that you felt what he has?
Oh, he's got it. Yeah. For a guy like Lane, it's just, you never know what Lane Malcheski is going to show up. And, I've seen a couple guys, and I feel for him because I had the same problem. It's, you wrestle like that, and people can't prepare for you because they don't know what you're going to do. But the hard thing is that, as you see right there, is, get a guy like Jaden Bullock that just knows how to wrestle that style of wrestling, and it almost just shocks you. Because you're expecting to be able to get it against everybody. So I think it's almost like a point where you got to rely a little on the fundamentals, which Lane has. He's multiple time state champion of Michigan from Macomb, Dakota. But I think when you're wrestling a guy like Jaden, you got to make that adjustment and go back to the fundamentals, and then maybe you surprise him in the third or second period with something like that. But you can't just rely on that as your sole sense of offense and defense.
And Lane Malcheski picks up a big escape to end period number 2. If you're Jaden Bullock, you have to end that period on top.
Yeah, getting in the second period, I think this is where Lane really strives in his top position. Loves that cross-body ride and really wrenches guys. I think that's what's got him so far in his career. But I think Jaden, this is really where you got to see for him is where he wants this match to go. Because we saw in South Dakota and a couple times in the Vegas tournament, if a guy gets ahead of him a little bit, that he might think that he's out of the match and kind of stops wrestling in that second and third period. But if you're Malcheski, the top position is what you're relying on.
Lane Malcheski, the graduate student you mentioned, from Dakota High School, Macomb, Michigan. Last year was 23-12 on the season. Finished the Big Ten championships in 10th place after being seeded 6th. Had to medically forfeit in the 9th and 10th place match due to illness. Then was the 22 seed at the NCAA championships, where he was a qualifier, and we got locking hands.
Yeah, it's just,
I think there was a head and an arm.
You gotta be careful. Oh wow, yeah, this is where Lane's got to be careful. And I think to a point you can't pay attention to what the referee is doing, because now he just gave up a reversal too. And obviously you see a challenge break there, but Eric, you got to wrestle without the referee. I think maybe, do you agree? I saw a little bit of a side headlock, and they might challenge that call, but you can't be looking at the referee right there, and I think that's what caught him.
But that's good that they were able to overturn that call. That gives Jaden Bullock, with that reversal, 5-1 advantage. Lane Malcheski down.
He's going to keep trying this chaotic. There it is, and he gets 2 back of his own. That's great for Lane. You want to see that. Don't stop doing that stuff, the funk, the scramble wrestling. And just because he gave up that reversal, I'm glad that he got right back to it.
Now Bullock looking to close off on that left side. Lemley does have the crab right on the right side, and this is where you got to give up one rather than giving up two.
Yeah, and Jaden's so good at wrestling from there. I think when he jumps over the leg. And he said, if you can do it, I can do it better. And this is where Lane's really good. I mean,
yeah, but this is where Jaden cannot get in a habit of
and he's
trying
got
to
be careful
with Lane.
I mean, it's tough because you want to say that, but he got that reversal already in the second period, so he can compete in there. But how many times do you want to take that chance with a guy like Lane Malcheski? You know, if I'm a betting man, maybe once or twice, I'll be like, maybe I'll do a stand-up so I don't get my chin ripped off.
Malcheski with that reversal cuts Jaden Bullock's lead to 5-3, 20 ticks left in period number 2. And it will be Jaden's choice.
Yeah, and if I'm the Michigan coaches, I think I'm going both up.
Sorry, Jaden went down, so it would be Lane's choice.
Okay, so, well, same thing. If I'm the Michigan State coaches, I'm choosing top.
Right.
And I'm going to try to get a turn. Because you're still losing the match if you get an escape. And Jaden's been very hard, obviously, we've seen to take down, and has the only takedown in the match, so.
I mean, if I was Bullock here, I would cut him.
I wouldn't mess around and Jay Boyard's screaming on the bench as you see over there, cut him. Yeah. Don't even waste your time on top.
The last thing you want to do is
roll around with him. And I don't know if I feel that call with the Michigan State coaching staff. I think you've just seen the success he had on top. I mean, he was so close to training him. So I mean, rely on what you're good at, because I think Jaden's so elusive and so hard to score on, and he might even get one of his own on a counterattack. So strategy-wise, I don't know if I agree with the call, but we'll see how it plays out in this last minute and 40 seconds. And Lane's got it. He's got to do something. He's got to try to score. I know it's hard to break through against a guy like Jaden, and you want to be careful of the counterattacks, but you got to try something. Create a scramble, create some chaos.
Has to close the distance here.
Yeah, and that half shot's not going to do it, because now you're wasting time. You're giving away 20, 30 seconds. So, I mean, I highly doubt the refs are going to call stalling on either guy, because both guys have been wrestling really, really well.
And the toughest thing to scramble out of is a double.
Oh, yeah. And Jaden's got a beautiful one.
And beautiful one.
Beautiful. I mean, I just remember watching the Vegas tournament, watching the camera almost get broken on a few of them. It almost reminds me of the Hidley brothers. Yeah, they got that double leg, and they're driving you all the way into the stands.
45 left, period number 3. Bullock needs to hang on.
Oh, beautiful duck, but see, that's Jaden's so good, and almost like his feel. He can feel it coming, which is such a hard skill to adapt to.
30 seconds remaining in the match.
Yeah, Lane's got to figure something out here. He's wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, head's caught underneath.
And his head's caught underneath, and they want to. I know the coaches want a stall call, but even a stall call is not going to do anything. You know, and Jaden he's just so hard to score on, Eric, and I think he's going to get the victory. He's going to get hit for stalling, but he can take the stall call. And Lane almost in a beautiful drive-through double. And as you said it, there's the double leg.
There it goes.
We were waiting for it.
Tack on 3 more, not only for the ending takedown, but for the Michigan Wolverines with another victory. Final score, Jaden Bullock victorious 8-4 over Lane Malcheski.
Yo, Tuma and Cam Caffey, maybe you can wrestle after this.
Coming up next at 197, 29th ranked Bobby Strigal for the University of Michigan, taking on Kale Whistler out of Michigan State.
Yeah, Bobby with a very, very close match last duel, and I think he's had a couple of them that have been, you know, very, very close. And him and his brother and his other brother, you know, plays football at Minnesota. Tough guys, Jackson and I can't remember. He's gonna kill me for the podcast, but guys that wrestle, you know, just hard-nosed guys. And Bobby is one of them. Danny is his name.
And he was within range, and that's what Coach Bormet said. Is against Maryland, he hand fought well. He stayed in there. He didn't wrestle the guy's ranking. He ended up competing, and they were happy with his performance. It's not always about the W. Sometimes it's about effort, continuing to improve towards March, and he was happy with how Strial competed.
Yeah, Jackson Smith's another guy that's super explosive. So he had a phenomenal Vegas tournament. But and Bob really wrestled him and shut him down. And there was really, no positions. Watching that match, I saw and that Bob really got himself out of position and let Jackson Smith hit his crazy, some of the craziness we saw over the year. And for him, it's a confidence builder. And I think, going into the season, this is kind of the time you really want to start peaking and chaining together wins before you get to that Big Ten tournament.
He just, from a coaching standpoint, they said they want to see him increase his attack rate. They feel like he's spending a lot of time in ties rather than getting to offensive attacks at a higher rate, and that is going to be the difference for them heading into the Big Ten championships and the NCAAs.
Yeah, Bob's got a good offense. I think sometimes when you get a couple injuries like he's had, you kind of lose it a little bit. But you like to see him, get to single leg, get that high crotch, convert something out of that hand fighting. You're hand fighting so hard. The point of hand fighting is to get some scores unless you're up. So you'd like to see him take some chances. And we saw that at the end of the match, I think, in Maryland. And he's starting to get a lot better at it. And I think this is one of the years he's got, almost a full season under his belt and full season of training. So it should be interesting to see this match.
Kale Whistler on the other end is a guy who Chris Williams says approaches wrestling from an analytical standpoint. He's an engineer major, loves numbers.
And 2 engineers.
He's a guy that isn't out there competing. He doesn't wrestle for the sake of wrestling. He actually competes because he thinks it's fun.
That's a tough skill to teach. I wish you could take that and put that in other 10 guys. But you got 2 engineers. Bobby was also an engineer, so you got 2 engineers going at 97. It's great to see guys taking, school seriously, and obviously there's life after wrestling, and these guys will have no problem with it.
Green's choice, it'll be Bobby Strigal choosing down the graduate student from Orono, Minnesota, Orono High School. You mentioned the 2 brothers. Brother did play football at Minnesota.
Yep, Danny. Yeah, defensive end. They definitely got the genetics for wrestling and football, I'll tell you that. Parents were gymnasts, so athletic family of the Strigals.
Strigal looking to get out on bottom, keeping a solid base. As Whistler gets him broken down, head down, hips down.
Yeah, but Bob is a wrestler that's just going to keep wrestling.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
7 minutes, you break him down, he gets back up no matter the score. So, Whistler's going to have to work really hard. He says analytical, so he's going to have to find the angles to try to keep him down for 7 minutes.
Working on a power half here. Only has the left leg in, does Whistler.
And this is the position Michigan's been working a lot on, is that short sit.
Trying to stay blocked off on the opposite side is Bobby Strigal, and you were seeing that.
Yeah,
left leg
he almost Whistler read it. He started to reach for that ankle and almost went back to, back to the base.
As we go out of bounds, 1:02 left, period number 2. Riding time nearing that 1 minute mark. 58 seconds in favor of the Michigan State Spartan. And this is exactly what Chris Williams said. He's one of the smartest kids on the team. As an engineer major, he has a great attitude. He acts like he's doing it for fun, and he just wants to see how good he can get at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you can almost see it in his wrestling. He's paying attention to the score. He's looking at the riding time. They're almost reading the bottom wrestling of Bobby Strigal, so you can definitely see the analytical in him and this cross-body wrestling and top wrestling.
And what's interesting is Chris also said that one thing that's unique about Kale is the guy you see wrestling here is not the guy you see wrestling in the room, right? You have those guys who are great in the room, and it usually doesn't transition. But it's opposite for him. He looks beatable in the room, and when he comes out here, what Chris said is when the lights are brightest, Kale shines the brightest. So that's pretty unique coming from a young kid.
Well, that's what you want. Jake Herbert was the same way. I remember watching Jake Herbert wrestle in the room. He's losing matches. He goes, I won. So sometimes it's just the mentality coming out of the room, and you obviously see it transition here as he rides out for 2 minutes.
So Whistler picks up 2 minutes of riding time, and the choice heading into period number 3. Does Kale Whistler, the redshirt freshman from Huron High School out of New Boston, Michigan. Look at the smile. Just a happy kid, right?
He's smiling ear to ear, happy to wrestle, happy to be out here. And that's what you love to see in something like this. It's a grueling sport and a guy smiling, you know, with blood rushing down his face. It takes a special kind of individual.
19-8 on the season is Kale Whistler, currently sitting on the cusp of reaching the NCAA championship, right now sitting at 31. But as I said, he's a redshirt freshman, so as the year goes on, he's going to be one of those guys that finds his way in this Michigan State lineup as you get into the Big Ten season.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's one name that comes to mind at 197 in the Big Ten that everybody's looking at. It's Aaron Brooks. But other than that, I think it's a wide open field. I mean, to look to get to the NCAA tournament would be a huge feat as a freshman. So both of these guys on the cusp. So I think 197 is a wide open weight class previously to what it used to be.
I'll give Strial the advantage here.
Oh yeah, I think he's. But look at Whistler wrestling so tough. He's still wrestling hard, and I don't understand why they haven't given the 3-point takedown.
What a scramble. Keep in mind, these guys are nearing 200 pounds.
It's an engineering battle right here. Watch the guy figure out the angles, figure out what it takes to score.
And Bobby's right leg is what's stopping him. Once he gets that out, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, he's got to get that right there, and he's got to take that over his knee under that figure 4 position. He's got to get his head up. And I think we're going to wrestle in here for that, at least another 30 seconds. If I'm the refs, I'm not stopping this action.
And Whistler now getting his hips back.
As soon as you think Whistler's going to get it out of that position, Strigal figuring it out. And I would hate to see a stalemate position here because Strigal's in deep on that leg. He's trying to jump over top. And Strigal gives it up.
And add 3 points to the tally for Kale Whistler as he extends his lead 4-0. We're going to tack on one more for riding time, plus 3 on the team score. So that'll bring it to 21-9. Still in favor of the Michigan Wolverines after 9.
Yeah, that second period was huge. That ride out, I think, took a lot of gas out of Bobby. And, you know, Kale, great job of wrestling through that last position, staying patient, staying calm. He, like you said, loves wrestling. You kind of see that in that position.
And Josh Terrell, if you don't know, the greatest story I would say in college wrestling. Growing up, this guy did not have the family life that you would like to have. And the environment that he was being raised in, he didn't like it either. So he came from a tough upbringing in terms of family support in his junior and senior year, moved in with a local Holt family with close-knit ties to the Holt wrestling program, and ended up fully committing himself to wrestling. He didn't feel like he was a D1 athlete. And his grades just from his home life significantly suffered from where they needed to be to become D1 eligible. So he figured he could wrestle in college, but it wouldn't be D1, it would be D2 or D3. Well, the Holt, and you have to give credit where credit is due, in the Holt Athletic Department 100%. Spent a lot of time getting Josh Terrell eligible to become a D1 athlete, and you see that where he's at today from where he was.
Not taking it for granted. I mean, 26 wins. Wow. And this early in the season.
From where he was in 2020 to where he is today. And I asked someone close to this, if they were to give me one word for the upbringing for Josh Terrell, what would it be? And they said it was treacherous. And then I said, so when you say that, you would not expect him to be where he was at? And they said exactly the opposite. When you see what he has done to get to where he's at, he is the most driven kid that I've ever been around. It's him. This is exactly what I expected from this kid.
Well, this is what you live for in college wrestling, stories like that. And he's obviously here, not wasting his opportunity. Like I said, 26 wins. I mean, I've rarely seen that from national champs. That's who you see it from. So I mean, he's got a bright future ahead of him, and to take that pain and turn it into glory is going to be something to watch. And I'm so excited to follow his story throughout his wrestling career at Michigan State.
And it just, for young fans out there listening, you control your environment, right? It's
100%.
important to set your goals high, continue to maintain them, continue to work, and any adversity that's going to strike, you have to continue to push yourself because it's going to come.
Oh, yeah.
No one gets there easy.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You see it less, I'd say less painful stories. Yanni DiCamahau, Spencer Lee, torn ACLs. Season over. Austin Gomez, another standing issue. Thought his wrestling career was over at Iowa State. Goes to Wisconsin, All-Americans. Now he's here at Michigan. So, I mean, if wrestling exemplifies one sport, just toughness and grit and just, almost grinding through the pain. And, Josh Terrell is one of those guys that represents that perfectly.
As he gives up the takedown, Lucas Davidson picks up the three-point takedown to end the first period. 7.2 seconds left. The takedowns in favor of Michigan are 15-3.
Yeah, his physique, I mean, you could put him in any sport and he's going to be an all-star athlete.
As Davidson elects to go down to start period number 2, picks up the escape, extends his lead to 4-0.
I think one guy would like to have a word with you on a freak athlete. His initials are GS. I've never seen somebody do a backflip. Gable Stevenson, who's announced he's not coming back this year, so the heavyweight weight class is wide open, in my opinion. I mean, Kirk Fleet obviously the favorite, but a guy like Gable Stevenson that tells you he's not coming back. I mean, you're smiling ear to ear.
Would love to see him come back at some point on the international level, but I still don't see it happening. Yeah,
he's a guy where you blink and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just witnessed that. And I would almost say Michael Jordan-esque of a guy with this athletic ability, and you're like, why did he choose wrestling? And to watch him and Mason go at it and battle over the years, 20 years from now, you're gonna laugh and say, wow, we actually got to watch history.
A beautiful time shot.
Yeah, Lucas has evolved over his career a lot too, and where he started to where he is now obviously an All-American and looking to be another All-American. I think even for him, national champ is the goal this year, and to look at him as a 97-pounder, move up to heavyweight and make that transition and do so well. And now you don't have a roadblock like I said, Mason Paris or Gable Stevenson, now Cassiope out of the mix as well. It's not out of the question that you're Michigan and you're training him to be the national champ at 285 pounds.
Short time left, period number 2, as Davidson looks to finish the period on top, which will give choice to Josh Terrell. Riding time nearing a minute. We're 12 seconds away. 48 seconds in favor of Davidson. Looks like he's going to cut him.
Yeah, and Lucas has a massive gap stake for a heavyweight. And I think this match, if Terrell isn't careful, can get really ugly really quickly. We've seen a lot. I mean, Maryland is a great example of that. In the past couple matches with Davidson has been that where you're leading 6-1, 6-2 in that second period and it just blows it open in the third period. And if you're the coaching staff, you love that, especially at the NCAA tournament, Big Ten tournament for bonus points.
Speaking of bonus points, Lucas Davidson currently 8-1 on the season with 7 bonus point wins.
Yeah, and I think that match in Vegas, his only loss this season, could go either way to younger Bastida, one of the most athletic heavyweights out there. And almost scratching my head. I wish he was in the Big Ten so I could get to call some of those matches, but I think that match is going to change come the postseason. Because Lucas is a guy who goes back to the drawing board, figures out what he did wrong, and builds better, and that's what it takes to be a national champion, and he definitely has it in him. And as we see 10-2 lead, and Michigan wants to win a national title this year, which they're very capable of doing, you're going to need guys like Lucas Davidson scoring bonus points.
currently does have the major locked up with 102 on the riding time, leading by 8 points.
Yeah, and you can see in his hand fighting, he just doesn't stop. I mean, he just continually moves forward. And for a heavyweight to have this big of a gas tank is very rare. I mean, Mason Paris is one of them, Greg Kirkfleet, Tony Cassiope, but he's right in that mix of those guys that continually score points at the heavyweight weight class.
30 seconds, ready in the match.
And I think that helps having a guy like Mason Paris in there. And especially with the offense, a guy that's so offensive. The bench wants another takedown, and maybe even a pin. I think that moment right there, that split second, tells you what kind of guy he is. Looks at Terrell, looks at the ref, and says, "Is he up yet?" You hear a little extracurricular behind this. But this could be, wow, double leg! Whoa!
With
1 second to go! Lucas Davidson! Woo!
Puts another takedown on the board. Will be 32nd ranked Tristan Luan.
Yeah, Mikey's a guy, he will create chaos. And obviously his knees won't thank him after wrestling for that, but so fun to watch and never out of any match and can pull the rabbit out of the hat from anywhere. And Luan's a little bit the opposite, likes to be slick. He's a beautiful takedown, but Luan likes to be slick, likes to wrestle that front headlock position, try to run around you. Reminds you of a guy that Javier Gasca, quick takedowns, and it's going to be an interesting matchup at 125 if Luan's going to be able to wrestle on the mat with Mike D'Agostino.
D'Agostino picking up that first early takedown.
Yeah, this is where Mike's so tough in his top position. Because he's going to get back to his feet, but didn't show you, but he's a monster on top. Loves his halves, loves wrenching guys' shoulders. And just an all-around complete wrestler you want to see at 125 pounds.
Not to mention the greatest beard in college wrestling.
Yeah, talking to Mike, he said I'm growing it out the whole season. I thought he was lying, but he said he's growing out his beard, his hair. I don't know if the coaches and the officials will let him do it, but we'll see how far he gets throughout the season. It's only January, and you got till March.
Luan in deep on what most would call a high crotch head outside single.
Ben Askren Jr., we might be able to call him. He might need a hairnet by the time it hits March. He kind of wrestles like Askren a little bit, so maybe the hair matches the name. And he likes those scramble positions, likes to do cradles, score points, and just, I'd say, the weirdest fashion that you could see possible. I think that's the best way you could put it. Hey, go watch his matches. Him and Jack Medley used to go back at it. Obviously, Jack, a Michigan alumni, and those matches were always so crazy to watch because Mike would put him on his back, and then Jack would get two, and then Mike would put him on. It's as a wrestling fan, you love to see it, but if you don't know wrestling, you're like, what the heck is going on? And he's another guy on Michigan's team. You see his leg tape, dealing with an injury this year. I've seen him in and out of the lineup. So you hope to see a healthy Mike D'Agostino if you're the Michigan coaching staff going into March.
Yeah, and limiting the matches is key, right? You have to understand what's important for Big Ten seeding. Because when you get to his age, four-time NCAA qualifier, All-American, he's a guy that has been around.
You don't need all those matches.
No.
It's more about preserving the matches, getting the key wins that you need, wrestling in the big ranking matches for the seeding of the tournament.
What's optimal, do you think?
If I'm a coach and I'm looking at this season and I'm looking at, after the COVID season's changed a little bit with these guys, you get older wrestlers in the mix that might have that extra year, which D'Agostino can, and a few of those guys qualified for. So I remember watching an interview with Evan Wick and him talking about it. It's just about limiting exposure, the hard workouts, and being smart and training almost like an Olympian. And I think the coaching staff realizes that with these older guys and getting, I'd say maybe 20 matches in the year. You go to the open tournaments, get that tournament simulation, and you wrestle a little bit in the Big Ten season. So I think that's where you got to set 20-ish matches for the older guys. And obviously, younger guys, you want to bump that up 30 matches, 40 matches, get as much exposure as you need. But with an injury like that, you might need to wrestle a full Big Ten season. So you don't really have an option for the RPI. So it'll be interesting to see with this Michigan team, the guys that have injuries, to see how often we see them in the lineup.
And when Franklin Gomez was wrestling at Michigan State, the year he won his NCAA title, his goal was to get 10 to 15 matches, is where he felt comfortable.
Franklin Gomez is a peculiar individual. I mean, I talk about two guys from two different programs, Franklin Gomez and Kellen Russell, that can wrestle by, I'd say, the thin of a hair and be able to score on what, those two guys, to watch those two guys come through the programs is once in a lifetime. You get to see Franklin Gomez and Kellen Russell. So 10, 11 matches for him might be 30 for somebody else.
As another shot, Luan has to close the distance on these shots.
Yeah,
he's getting caught underneath too much.
I think you got to adjust your strategy after taking those low shots. You don't want to pay the price. You paid the price earlier in the match, giving up a counterattack. So for him, it's you got to figure out how to break through D'Agostino. It might be upper body, it might be your ducks, it might be your underhooks, but it's definitely not those low shots. D'Agostino can see him telegraphed and see him coming.
But it's also, it doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but from a power standpoint and energy, it takes a lot out of you fighting from underneath.
D'Agostino is also a big 25-pounder. He's big at this weight class, so you could see the weight kind of getting out of Luan as well. Haven't really seen it in the top position, but if D'Agostino gets one more of these takedowns, you'll start to see him definitely feel that in that third period. And that's where Mike, I think, he's got to be careful. He loves wrestling that chaos and had almost a for sure takedown there, Eric. You want to see a little more fundamental skills out of D'Agostino. So Luan was smart, kind of wrestled to the position, and now wrestled his way almost into a takedown. And he's got to be careful.
Yeah, he does. He's going to be okay here. 3 seconds left. He's going to get out of this period.
Wow.
That was close.
Well, maybe if I'm D'Agostino, my game plan changes a little bit. You're up 4-1. Team scores already locked away. Just get out of here with the victory.
This matchup at 125 pounds. Tristan Luan chooses to be in the third period in the down position.
Yeah, you'd like to see Luan break that grip. Tried to grab it at the wrist. Probably better off peeling the fingers, and would have put himself exactly right back in this match, 4-4, but D'Agostino did a really good job of hanging on.
First time hearing Kevin Jackson over in the corner. He hasn't been as vocal as he normally is.
Yeah, I think he's beat up about that loss for Cameron. He's one of Cameron's close coaches, so I mean, the dual meet's locked up, but a couple matches you got to go back to the drawing board because Amin and Fish, Malszewski and Bullock, those premier matches are going to be ones we'll see at the Big Ten tournament. So with a little bit of enthusiasm could be a little bit of disappointment as well. This match is a lot closer than I think a lot of people thought. I mean, 3 versus 33 and a takedown it's almost like the Fish match. 42, minute 20 to go. Luan's quick and can get around, and D'Agostino's had a lot of offense, but Luan's escaped a few times. We'll see how it gets down to the wire here, Eric.
One minute remaining. And now you're starting to see a sense of urgency from Tristan. He's going to have to get out of this tie, break containment, figure out where he needs to. And a stalemate call.
And it can't be off D'Agostino's shots. I mean, he's got to find offense of his own. He got lucky in that second period that he was able to scramble through that, but he's got to find offense of his own, or I mean, it's going to end 4-2. And Bullock, we saw this with Cam Amin. I mean, coming down to the wire, you really got to have a sense of urgency. And we saw with Bullock, you know, getting the takedown at the end, and Fish getting the takedown at the end. The guy that's going to be the aggressor is going to win the match. And beautiful duck by, as I just said, that to seal it.
And that'll seal the match at 7-2.
Yeah, barring anything crazy here, but D'Agostino's been in this position so many times, and a gritty 7-3 win against the in-state rival.
So D'Agostino takes out Tristan Luan 7-3 as the Michigan Wolverines cap off. Look at him limp off. That's tough. Toughness right there. 29-12 the team score. Overall, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, if you're Michigan State, you hang your head high. 12 points at Chrysler Arena is nothing to be shy about, nothing to be upset about. But, you know, for Michigan, you got some big key wins. You know, Bullock over Melchewski. You had Shane Griffith come back in the lineup, which was good to see. I think Lucas Davidson, to have a guy like that at heavyweight, you're almost like, I mean, you're lost for words like I am right now. So I think Michigan, both teams have a lot to work on, but Michigan State hang their head high, 12 points in Chrysler Arena is nothing to shabby about.
And they, both teams will welcome Penn State into Michigan next week. So Michigan will welcome Penn State on Friday and then Sunday. But let's hear from the third member of our team, Alex.
As we wait for Alex, Eric was saying Penn State at home. I mean, both teams, Penn State the #1 team as we look through the rankings. A lot to work on for both teams. So, you know, I think for Michigan and Michigan State, you know, you got guys in the lineup that can shine. You saw that at 65 with Caleb Fish, and you saw that at 84 with Michigan with Bullock. You like to see them wrestle like that after a tough loss at South Dakota. So.